Hello and welcome to DV360 Masterclass. In this video, we'll completely show you an overview of DV360 and how to use it. If you have been looking for the right resource for this, and just to give you context, we are still probably the only company in the world who has DV360 tutorials step by step actually within the UI. Now, this is the UI of DV360 where you will land once you log in. But before we go to the campaign creation and the different features about the DV360, I just want to give you a quick idea about DV360. Now, what is DV360? It's actually a DSP or demand side platform. How it works actually is we as an advertiser use Meta ads, Google ads, and we use DV360 as well. And that's where this falls. We directly log into DSP, which in our case is DV360. There are other DSPs as well, a lot of them. The closest competitor is TTD, which is Trade Desk, and there are a lot of other DSPs as well, which are connected to something called ad exchanges. For example, Google Ad Exchange is one, TubeMogul is one. There are a lot of ad exchanges. The biggest ones are probably around 40, where the buying and selling happens. And on the other hand, there are publishers like bbc.com, Google, Meta, anywhere, any website where you can see an ad, even apps. They're called publishers, and they're connected to something called SSP, like we are connected to DSP, and in turn connected to ad exchange. And this is where all the media buying happens, meaning we run campaigns, we want to show ads, we buy these ad slots, and these guys sell their ad slots here. And all of this is automated, and that's why this ecosystem is called programmatic advertising. If you want to know more about this, we have a dedicated video just explaining these platforms. Now, DV360 is owned by Google, just like Google Ads. They did not create it, they just acquired it, like they acquired YouTube and other platforms. So this was owned by a company called DoubleClick back in around, I think, 2008. But now, since then, Google owns this. Now, who uses DV360? It's a common question. What are the users? That's what we will discuss. But to give you an idea, DV360 is used by advertisers who outgrow Google Ads, where Google Ads is not able to fulfill all their demands and what is required, which we will know when we do the campaign setup. You will understand what I mean by that. And if you want to know in detail what is the difference between Google Ads and what additional features do we have in DV360, we have a dedicated video for that as well. I'll put the link in the description below. Why does it exist? DV360 exists because serious media buying becomes messy when you're buying across publishers, formats, countries, audiences, and objectives. So it gives basically a control. Imagine Samsung or Apple launches a new phone and they have these global campaigns which will run in different countries. Each country has their biggest publishers. For example, UAE, they want to run ads on Khaleej Times, Gulf News, Gulf Business. These are big publishers. Similarly, in the US, they want to run on Economic Times, New York Journal, and all these websites, big websites, apps. So controlling all of this is very difficult in any other platform in the world, and having guaranteed buys, etc., etc. You will know all of that when we do the campaign setup, but this is just for you to understand. DV360 hierarchy is a bit different as well. There are some additional levels. Once you have a DV360 account, in most cases, the reseller will create a partner account for you where you will have different advertisers. Now, generally, if we open a DV360 Google Ads account or Meta Ads account, we create an ad manager account or Google Ads account. That is where we as an advertiser go and create campaigns. But DV360 is used by biggest agencies in the world. So that's why Google gives them an additional layer, which is partner, where they can manage all their advertisers or their clients. And then with an advertiser like Google Ads and Meta Ads, we have a campaign, and there is one more additional layer here. In campaigns, we basically have ad sets, which you can consider as line item, or in case of Google, there is ad groups, and then you have your creative there. There is one more additional layer here, because if you want to manage the campaigns, because big companies have these big campaigns where in one campaign they have a guaranteed buy. I will explain that once we are doing the campaign setup, where they have, say, each one campaign targeted to multiple countries, but budgets controlled within that. So there is one additional layer, which is insertion order, where you can have Samsung can have one campaign, and then for each country they have their insertion order, and then the campaign, ad set, whatever, and the creative. So basically it can be used in multiple ways. I just wanted you to know that there are two additional layers when it comes to hierarchy. Just to give you a comparison, in Google Ads you have an ad account, then you have a campaign, then you have ad set, then you have an ad group, and then you have your ad. In Meta you have your ad manager account, then you have a campaign, ad set, and then within ad set you have your ads. So in both cases, there are two additional layers. DV360 is built for advertisers, agencies who need more control because they want to know where each dollar is being spent, and they want to target niche, and they want to basically control every aspect of your campaign. In terms of, if you have never done programmatic advertising, you might even not know what viewability is. So those kind of controls, brand safety and all those things, basically DV360 provides. More inventory access. For example, on Google Ads, you run campaigns and you have access to Google properties and some third-party publishers and apps. But with DV360, you can target connected TVs, you can target all the websites in the world, the biggest websites in the world, and you can guarantee that your ads will serve there. You can choose which websites you want to run ads on or which websites you don't want to run ads on. Even outdoor media is connected to DV360 these days, which is called DOH, which is digital out of home. So you can do that as well in DV360. The banners you see in malls or roads, the digital banners, you can run your ad campaigns. If I'm sitting in UAE, I can run the campaigns in Sao Paulo. I can run it in New York. Sitting in one place, I can book those and run those campaigns. And I can have all of these inventory types in one campaign. More advanced audience strategy. There are a lot of things you can do. You can connect DMPs. A lot of DMPs are already connected to DV360, where they have niche audiences. To give you an example, people who own American Express MasterCard, people who have been looking to buy Godox Lite, people who are looking for a specific lawyer. These kind of audiences are available in there. More advanced brand safety, because big brands, they don't want to run ads on cheap websites or apps or across the content which is not brand safe. So you have all these controls in DV360, where you can even integrate third-party web companies who specialize in brand safety, and you can integrate and they do it for you. So a lot of things can be done. More detailed frequency management, it's self-explanatory. More transparent media buying, you can see when you spend in your campaign, you can see how much was actually the media cost, how much was paid to the publisher, what was the DV360 fees, what was the audience fees. All of them you can have transparent media buying. More enterprise campaign level structure, which goes back to the hierarchy. Different modes of media buying. So just to give you an idea, in DV360, if you're used to Google Ads and Meta Ads, all you do there is open auction. Open auction meaning you set your bids and Meta or Google chooses where your ads will be shown. In this case, DV360, there are multiple media buying methods, which I'll try to explain here. One is open auction, which is basically what you are used to on Google Ads and Meta Ads. Private PMP is you can talk to certain publishers, for example, Times of India, Khaleej Times, Gulf News. You can tell them, I want to run ads specifically on your websites, and they can have an arrangement with you, whether it's private marketplace or preferred deals. And then there is programmatic guaranteed. You can basically go to any publisher in the world, Zynga, Candy Crush, any company, app or website, you can have a deal with them, and using DV360 sitting at your desk, you don't need to know them, you don't need any kind of, because Google acts as an intermediary. You can tell BBC that I want to show 1 million ad impressions on your homepage on this particular top banner, and because they will say, okay, we'll send you a deal. It will be guaranteed because they will make sure that you run these on their website. So that's why it's called programmatic guaranteed. These are different modes of ad buying on DSPs. So yes, that's what's different modes of media buying means. What makes DV360 powerful, just to give you an idea, access to premium inventory, cross channel buying, meaning you can have one campaign and you can have within that campaign, okay, this campaign should run on outdoor digital banners. This should run on connected TVs, YouTube, these publishers, guaranteed deals, open auction. You can combine all in one campaign. Advanced frequency management, strong audience integrations. We already discussed that. Now, a lot of people ask me this question, how do we open an account? Just unlike Google Ads and Meta Ads, where you can go to google.com or Meta Ads and open an account, create an ad manager account. DV360 does not work like that. Before, only you would have to reach out to Google and they will open an account for you. And the criteria was you should have $500,000 spent in last 1 year on Google Ads. That's only when they will entertain your request. Of course, it used to be different for each country. I'm just telling you the standard. However, now Google does not open accounts. They have passed it on to their resellers, where basically there are authorized companies who are partners to Google and they can help you open an account. If you want to open an account, go to Google, search for DV360 partner directory. You will see the website, you'll choose your country, etc. and you will be able to see who are the partners in your country who can open an account for you. So that's a bit about DV360. Now this is our UI. Now if you see here, at the moment we are at partner level. This UI here tells you everything where you are. Now in our case, in this particular partner account, there is only one advertiser here. If you see, that is Bhupin. Now in partner, you manage different advertisers. For example, if you're a big agency, you just manage all your clients here. For each client, you ideally create an advertiser account. Now also at this level, at overview level, you can basically see overview where you will see overall spends across all your partners, advertiser accounts, etc. You can generate different kind of reports. You have different kind of resources like brand controls you want to have across all your clients, channels, custom bidding, floodlight groups, partner settings. This you will probably never use. So everything happens without an advertiser because this is for each client. Now, if I click on this advertiser, you will see it will show you this UI where you will be able to see if there are any existing campaigns, how much budget was spent, and what was the KPI goal, what was the actual you received, and you have a lot of things within. Consider advertiser account as an ad account in Google Ads and Meta Ads. Everything is here. There are different kind of audiences you can manage here. There are different kind of creatives. I'm just taking you through like an overview before we start a campaign. Then we have inventory, which we will know later. Then you have reports, different kind of reports you can generate, experiments. Then you have resources where you can control different kind of brand controls, which websites, types of websites, and all those you want to show your ads and not show your ads, channels and keywords, floodlight groups, YouTube assets, all these things you see here, we will try to cover all of them. Then you have advertiser settings like basic details, name, targeting rules, linked accounts, what kind of, whether you want to connect to your YouTube, your GTM, your Google Analytics, whatever. So all of this happens at advertiser level, which is basically an ad account in terms of Google and Meta. And then there is history, which is very important. If you ever want to see what was changed in the ad account, what changes, everything any user does in this, because you can add all of your team and give access to them to this advertiser account. So anyone makes any change in this ad account or advertiser account, that's what will be recorded here. So when you are in your advertiser account, that's where you can create your campaign. Now I'll show you different kind of campaign settings we have. They're very different, and it's more, there are a lot of options available unlike Meta Ads and Google Ads. To create a new campaign, for example, we'll create a new campaign. And the first thing it'll ask you is campaign name, like any other platform, and whether you want to set it active or you want to pause it and set all of it and then make it active. So for now, I'll name it test campaign. But of course, if you're working on DV360, you will have your own syntax like their platforms. Then you have here overall campaign goal. One thing to understand here is these settings will not impact any survey. So for example, if you go here and you set a KPI, you set, let's say, planned spend to $100,000. And actually, all these will be just used for reporting. In the dashboard we just saw, you will go there, you will see which campaign, what was the set KPI and what we are achieving. Actually, serving happens on settings you choose at the last, at the line item settings. So this is just to give you an idea. So this will be just used for reporting. Just remember this. When I say reporting, which is basically here, this campaign will appear here. What was the budget? What was the spend? KPI goal? This is, and for overview, this is where basically these settings are used. Overall campaign goal, raise awareness of my brand, drive online action or visits, offline or in-store sales, drive app installs or engagements, which is kind of all the goals. These are available in Google Ads as well. So in our case, we will basically search, let's say, choose raise awareness. Then we have KPI. It tells you what do you want to basically, what is the key performance indicator here, what will be this campaign judged on. If you see, there are a lot of options here like CPV, CPM, viewable percentage, which is not available in Google Ads, or etc. CPI, AVC, CPA, CPC, CTR, even other. We will select, let's say, CPM here. KPI goal, we'll select $2. Creative that you are expected to use, display, video, and audio. Yeah, see, this is one more difference. You cannot run audio ads on Meta Ads and Google Ads, the most popular platforms, but here you can. They will appear on all the audio platforms like podcast platforms, etc. Planned spend 100,000, planned dates, you can choose whatever, 25. And this is one more thing you have to remember. The additional hierarchy we discussed about advertiser insertion order. Sometimes what companies do is they have one campaign running for 3 months, and within that they have 3 different campaigns. Let's say pre-launch, post-launch, and whatever. And that's why there there is one more additional option, insertion orders. So insertion orders, within that you can choose different dates, like subsets of these dates, one insertion order for 1 month, etc., etc. Okay, then additional budgets, and then you have options here. You can choose, because this is generally used by agencies because they have these POs with their clients, and they can add here all the PO details for reporting purposes, budget name, this approval, PO number, this start date, invoicing, ID group. This is basically for big agencies to maintain the records. Now once you see the settings, you'll get a feel that okay, this has so many options. Probably that's why big companies use it. Frequency cap, you can set a frequency cap, no limit here, and then check everything at line item level, or you can choose whatever you want at campaign level voting. Let's say, for example, I say from this campaign, one user should not see 10 exposures every week, including, for example, within this campaign. Unlike Google Ads, you can create like one campaign, can be either search, performance max, YouTube, whatever. In this case, you can have one campaign can have all the line items. You can have one YouTube line item, guaranteed line item, preferred deal line item, CTV line item, whatever. So you can choose. This is one of the things we discussed. One of the uses is better frequency management. You can choose across all campaigns. On Google Ads, you cannot do it, right? And landing page URLs and keywords, these are some of the settings you can basically add. They help in better recommendations. Whatever landing pages you provide here, later when you are adding creative, it will automatically show you the list. Okay, which one do you want to use for this ad? And keywords, once you add these keywords, etc., it will give you better recommendations in terms of targeting, etc. So I'll click on create, and that's all you do in campaign. Our campaign is created here. Now what you have to do is you can either create insertion orders or create line items directly. So we'll go to new, and it'll show you whether you want to create an insertion order or line item. Now campaign is overall budget, etc., etc., KPIs, whatever you want to select. Now within insertion orders, you have options. What kind of insertion order you want to create, and you can create different types within the same campaign. You can have multiple insertion orders within one campaign. So I'll click on insertion order here. Now the first setting it's asking me is select a type. Now, do you want a standard open auction line item serving on display and video 360, connected TV or OTT streaming, or digital out of home? See, it's telling you whether it will be served on desktops and mobile devices, whether you want this one to be on connected TV and digital. And I can choose one insertion order, then create another in the same campaign, choose connected TV. So you get the idea. In this case, I'll choose standard. And now the second option is asking is select an objective. Now within insertion order, you can choose different objectives for insertion orders. I can have one campaign. I can have one insertion order focused on brand awareness, one insertion order focused on conversions, etc., etc. So there's a lot you can do. But this gives you an idea. If you select brand awareness, it will tell you what are the KPIs you can select at bidding level. If you use brand awareness, what are the bidding strategies you can use? If you use this brand awareness as objective, what are the line item types you can create, like display, video, connected TV, mobile app install, ad, which is basically almost all. Similarly, if you they get restricted. If you use conversions, if you use custom, and then insertion order without objective, you can create. But if you choose a particular objective here, it will help you better with recommendations, etc. So in our case, let's say we want to do a brand awareness campaign. I'll click on next. Now it will ask you insertion order name. So I'll name it brand awareness top websites open auction, meaning this insertion order has objective brand awareness. You can name anything. It's just for reference. I'll just target certain websites in this insertion order. Let's say Gulf News, Khalij Times, 5 websites I have chosen, but it will be open auction. I don't have a deal with them. I will just target them. If my bidding is right, then my ads will serve on those. Objective we selected in the previous setting. Now budget. This budget will actually work. Whatever budget you set here, this insertion order will not spend more than that. So these settings work. They control, they restrict, not like campaign settings, which is just used for. Here it's giving me options whether you want your budget to be in USD or impression. Let's say I say 1 million impressions should be served from this insertion order. Regardless what that costs me, I don't care, or USD. In almost all cases, people select USD. Let's say for this one, I want to serve $100. Name it description, whatever. If there is any particular budget approved by a particular PO, I can add it here. This is used by agencies, and this is what I was talking about. Now, whatever dates you selected at campaign level, they'll be automatically reflected here, but you can change it. So you can say, I want it to run only on first 3 days of the campaign or whatever. Add segments, then you can have another budget. So there's a lot of control. Okay, for these dates, choose another budget. Now I want to spend 200. And this happens, this is very useful in certain cases. Say, for example, if I'm running a campaign with any big advertiser in UAE, generally when they have Eid campaigns, they say, you know what, 3 days before the Eid for the week, we want to spend 20% of the budget. And from the 1 day, 3 days till Eid, till third Eid, for 6 days, we want to spend 70% of the budget. So that is what you will control here. In Google Ads, if you have to use this kind of work with this kind of advertiser, then you will have to create multiple campaigns and whatever. So here you have options to do everything. Then we have pacing. Now, this is also one more additional feature you don't see in Google Ads anymore, which is flight or daily. Now, I'll tell you what it means. Now, if you select flight and you have options ahead or even. What it means is, I want to run, I want to show, I want to spend $100 for these 3 days. What I want you to do is evenly. Spend the budget evenly. $33, $33, $33, approximate. In some cases, the advertisers say, oh, we want to spend as much money in the beginning, so that these companies have different problems. Big companies, their problem is underpacing. They won't rush you for why are we not getting results and all. These branding campaigns, big companies, their issue is, why are we underpacing? We have to spend this amount within this duration, but our campaigns are not spending. So in those cases, you select ahead, which means in the first half of the campaign, DV360 will spend more than half of the budget, and then the rest of the budget, let's say 35%, will be spent in the next half. Similarly, you can do daily wise, whether you want to spend as soon as possible, every day, basically. Okay, if you have an option to spend until 12 noon, all the daily budget, spend that. Let's say I'll say $30 daily. Now see, it's telling me that because the 3 days campaign, if I spend 30 days daily, there'll be an underpacing because it'll be $90 spent. Budget is $100 of the insertion order, so I have to change it. So I'll say $33.33, whatever. Okay, anyways. And the other thing is, what you can do is you can spend evenly every day, spend evenly throughout the day. Because on DV360, you can spend millions of dollars every day. So it's just saying, okay, don't spend everything in the beginning, spread it across the day. Now, there are different kind of advertisers. There are some advertisers who basically for example, a restaurant, they make 100 meals every day, and they want to just get orders as soon as possible. In that case, you will select ahead, as soon as possible. So there are multiple use cases like that. Or for example, you are working with a dentist, you are running a lead generation campaign, and the dentist says, spend the most of the budget within our target cost per lead in the beginning, so that the person has enough time to distribute the leads in the sales team, and then call them accordingly for the rest of the day. We don't want to get leads at 4 p.m., 6 p.m., 7 p.m. Then they'll be mismanaged or contacted next day. So there are different use cases where you actually use this. And then we have the KPI. What KPI should you use for this insertion order? Now, because we selected brand awareness, so it's giving you options which are relevant to this objective. For example, cost per 1,000 viewable impressions, viewability percentage. Viewability is basically if you have a static banner, when it comes in the viewport here, let me show you. For example, I go to Khalij Times. So I'll go to Khalij Times here, explain what viewability is. We even have a dedicated video for viewability as well. Now, you see the ad that comes in the viewport is this part of the browser. Now, this ad came in the viewport. If it stays here for 1 second consecutively, that means this ad was viewable. Because on websites and apps, what happens sometimes is there are a lot of ads. People come here, they just scroll until here, and then they leave the website. But the ads that were below the viewport, they will count impressions, and a lot of budget is wasted like that. For example, if there is an ad here somewhere, this one is an ad, sponsored content. Now, if I never scroll down, that would still count impression. If I'm bidding on CPM, my budget will be wasted. So you focus on viewability. And viewability percentage means is what is the probability that on a particular website your ad will come in the viewport. If I select 90%, then it will only bid on, let's say, above the fold on the top banners. Cost per 1,000 viewable impressions is how much do you want to pay for when your ad came in the viewport, when it was a viewable impression. And all these terms you can check on Google, but you can basically choose anything. So I'll choose cost per this, and I will select $2.5 here. Remember, we selected 2 at campaign level. That's only for reporting. Actual bidding happens on what I select here. Now, the next one is optimization. If you see here, these settings, they are very exhaustive. They are very exhaustive. Otherwise, in Google Ads, you choose an objective and then you select a bid or maximize clicks or manual CPC. That's it. Here it will give you a lot of options. How do you want to optimize? What is the metric you want to focus on? How do you want to bid? How do you like to optimize? Automatically bid at insertion order level, maximize viewable 10 seconds, whatever, maximize reach. It will give you a lot of options for each of them. Or control bid and budget at line item level. Now this setting here is comparable to CBO, ABO in meta ads, whether you want to campaign based optimization or you want ad set level optimization. Similarly here it's asking you whether you want to optimize at insertion order or you want to create multiple line items within your this insertion order and then control bids there. In most cases you will select at insertion order level unless you have specific line item use cases where you want to distribute budget, and then you will select the goal here. Frequency cap, again it will ask you how you want to limit the frequency cap. I'll select 5 per week. Now, if you remember at campaign level, we selected 10 per week. At insertion order, I will select 5. Or if I select 15 here, what happens is the more restrictive setting will be basically respected by DV360. Now, at campaign level, from this campaign, I'm setting at 10 ad exposures per week. If I select at 15 at insertion order, once this insertion order hits 10, it will not serve more because the campaign limit is already reached. So ideally, once you're creating these campaigns, you have to choose a bigger number at campaign level for not just frequency, even budget and everything. And then within when you go to insertion order level or line item level, you have to use a smaller number. Because if you select 10 here as well, and it's quite possible that the first 10 impressions for a user are served from this insertion order and the campaign level is hit already, other insertion orders will not serve for that user. So it's always better to choose, for example, if I'm planning 2 insertion orders in this campaign, so I'll select 5 in each so that they are distributed equally within each user. Then you have additional settings, which are partner cost, whatever they're used by agencies. For example, if I say, you know what, for this campaign, because there's transparency in DV360, CPM fees, I will add $1 for, will it be invoiced? $1 default third-party ad server. What is this fees? I can say basically it's custom fees 1 and tell the client that in your invoice, our agency fees is $1 CPM, and it will be, I'll select invoiced and it will appear in their invoice. So you can basically, whatever media spend, whatever media fees you are paying DV360, on top of that you can charge your clients and select it here that it will automatically be calculated in their invoice. And you can do it based on fixed CPM price or you can do it as percentage. For example, a lot of agencies work on 8% or 7% markup. That they how these big agencies work with the clients on programmatic platforms is whatever you spend, we'll charge a 7% agency fees on top of that as an agency fees. And then there is integration codes where you can add details about your invoice, PO and whatever. And once you click on create, your insertion order is created. Now if you see here, we are home, partner level, then we are in advertiser boopin, then we are in campaign test campaign, and this is our insertion order. Now we can click on our insertion order, and the next thing will be we can create a new line item within this insertion order. Again, I'm reiterating, in one campaign you can have multiple insertion orders, in one insertion order you can have multiple line items based on the requirement of the company. For example, Apple wants to run a launch iPhone 17 launch campaign, and they want to have one campaign targeting all the GCC countries, or let's say UAE and Kuwait and Bahrain. Now what you can do is, okay, you know what, we have this launch campaign, and for each country I will have one particular campaign. Insertion order Bahrain, insertion order UAE, insertion order Kuwait, and you can have their fixed budgets and control it at one place. And within insertion orders you can have, let's say, 3 programmatic line items, programmatic guaranteed, because 3 publishers you have deal with, or you can have 4th one YouTube, 5th one open auction, whatever. So it's up to you how you want to arrange this. But when you work with such a client who uses DV360, there will be plenty of use cases and how you want to structure your campaigns. Okay, so before we create our first line item, if you want or need a more detailed tutorial on DV360, we have a dedicated, I think 6 or 7 hours DV360 tutorial, which we regularly update. I'll put the link of that in the description below. So here we are, we click on new line item. A lot of settings you will see will be repeated again, but you have to understand one thing. Whatever we selected at insertion order level or campaign level, they will be kind of recommended here or by default chosen those settings, but you can always change those settings as well. Now once you create a new line item, it will ask you again what this specific line item would be about. Will it be a display one, a video? Will it be a connected TV line item? Audio, mobile app install, and then ads and mobile apps, which is app inventory only, YouTube and partners, YouTube partners audio, and demand gen. You will see some of them are grayed out because based on the objective you choose, for example, for this insertion order, we chose the objective brand awareness, and the KPI we chose is VCPM, the bidding. So mobile app install will not make sense for this particular objective. Now, if you want to have all the options available at line item level, at insertion order level, you have to choose without objective, create insertion order without an objective setting there. So now the options we have here is display, video, connected TV, and all these options. So we'll go with display, where you can create, basically upload static banners or HTML5 banners as your creative again. So the first thing it'll ask you is line item name. I'll call it display. I'll call it display static banners top websites, which we will create for this one. You can copy the settings from any existing line item. The first thing it'll ask you is quality. Now it'll give you multiple options, which is authorized direct sellers and resellers, authorized and non-participating publishers. Now, what happened is, I'll just give you a little bit of context. Now, when you buy inventory on certain websites, it's very important for you to understand what kind of association that website has with DV360. Now, before, what used to happen is there used to be a lot of problems called domain spoofing or something else, which means I will create just a website and then basically portray it as pass URL in a way that DV360 thinks it's bbc.com. And of course, the advertisers who are bidding a lot to run ads on bbc.com or reputed websites, or they select certain categories of website, and advertisers are willing to pay a huge amount for this. And these new scammy and spam websites used to get a lot of money. To solve this problem, few years ago, what DV360 and Google did is they asked all the publisher owners, if you want to sell your inventory on DV360 and be recognized as bbc.com, you have to add a file on your website backend called ads.txt. So they add it there, and they add details, and they add also details that which SSP account they have and all those things, which is helps Google to verify that they are really bbc.com. Now, here what happens is, if you select authorized direct resellers, and your ads from this line item will only serve on websites who have these ads.txt file on their website, meaning Google has verified their authenticity. Authorized direct sellers and resellers is meaning if BBC in certain cases does not directly sell their inventory to ad exchanges, they have partners. So there's a company who basically goes to all these websites, says we will sell your inventory. They have their different kind of contracts that will have this filling rate, will provide you, or they buy basically lump sum with these websites. Those are called authorized resellers, and those authorized resellers, basically these websites also add in their ads.txt file that this is our authorized reseller, so they are allowed to sell our inventory. So you can, in ideal cases, you select authorized direct resellers or authorized direct sellers and resellers. This setting is most commonly used because a lot of big websites even go through resellers. Authorized and non-participating websites, meaning all of the genuine ones, and even if they don't have ads.txt file on their website, meaning they have not been verified by Google. It's up to you. Google gives you an option, but in most cases, you will select authorized and resellers. Now, public inventory is, it's asking you what kind of exchanges do you want to run inventory on. Ideally, you will choose all of them, but if we were talking about SSPs, so these are 49 SSPs available on DV360 to buy inventory from, meaning this is 90% of the internet. That's why DV360 is such a huge platform. You can buy inventory from any platform. They're all, if you see Yahoo Exchange, all the big SSPs, PubMatic, OpenX, all of them. So unless you have a certain problem or you have a specific direction from your client that you cannot buy on this particular exchange, in certain cases clients will tell you, oh, we already have a deal directly with PubMatic, so don't duplicate buy from here, so exclude PubMatic and OpenX. We have a direct deal. These big companies already have some, in most cases, direct deals with them, so they don't want DV360 to duplicate their buying, which they are doing directly or any other platform. In a lot of cases, advertisers use multiple DSPs, meaning then what they do is, okay, these 5 SSPs will use Trade Desk to buy inventory from, and these we will use DV360. So it's helpful in those cases. Okay, the next one is deals and packages. This is what will turn your line item from a non-guaranteed or open auction to a guaranteed. Now, if you already had a guaranteed deal with bbc.com, I'll probably show you how to do that. Then all of those deals which you have accepted and configured with them, they will appear here. So if you go here and you had, for example, these are all the deals that we have negotiated with a lot of publishers. So that one will appear here, BBC, you will select that and click OK. And that is when this line item will basically become a guaranteed line item. This will only serve on that particular deal. That's the whole only difference between a guaranteed and non-guaranteed. But we are doing open auction, so we will not select open deal, any deals and packages. Deal groups and preferred deals is non-guaranteed ones. Again, we don't have any. This is an open auction line item. Then we have targeting, and there are some AI features which will help you to select the right targeting. Viewability, you can choose what kind of viewability is accepted to you. Now, optimized targeting is basically audience expansion. If you select this, then you are telling DV360, whatever targeting I have selected, you can, if you think we will get better performance, whatever your KPI and objective is, you can go beyond that targeting. And then to add any kind of targeting, you have to click on add targeting, whatever you want to target here. So for example, in this one, what we'll be targeting is websites. In certain cases, you might have line items, one targeted to one particular audience, one targeted to another audience. It depends on how you structure your campaign. But we have structured it in a way that each line item will be different kind of placement. In this one, we'll target top 5 websites in UAE, for example. So if you click on targeting options, you will see what kind of things you can target. Like unlike Google and Meta ads, Google ads. So you can target geography, you can target day and time, demographics, browser, device, connection speed. You can target audience lists, you can target language, viewability, position, environment, categories, keywords, apps and URL, brand suitability. So you can basically structure a campaign in such a way that each line item is targeted in a particular way. So you want to, let's say, for example, I want to see what if I create 3 line items and each of them I target different viewability. Let's say I target 40 in one, 70 in one, 80 in one, and then see how is it impacting my goal and objective. Or you can have different line items. Say I want to target one line item to one kind of audience, first party. You have Google audiences, you have combined audiences, you have custom audiences. Say you want to say, I want to target one for first party, you add first party audiences here. Let's say you want to have then third party audiences, different kind of audiences, and compare line items. In our case, we'll go with URLs, but I just want to show you, because we discussed we have extensive audiences available in DV360. I'll show you what it means. Now, if you click on add, you have first party audiences, which is remarketing and your own audiences. And you can also have third party. If you see that there is a lot of third-party audiences available here from different DMPs. For example, IOTA is one DMP. Now see how detailed targeting audiences you have available here. This one is frequent sub-sandwich customer. This one is people who prefer who are healthy eaters. This one is people who have intent towards retail companies, music lovers. I'll show you something very specific. For example, let's say I want to target, I'm running a campaign for Audi or any car maker, and let's see what we get. See, these are audiences who have purchase intent towards sports and fitness. Let's say I search for Dubai. Now see here, these are audiences who are in market to travel to popular destinations and to Dubai specifically. Now imagine if you are working for a hotel in Dubai or any amusement park or any destination. Now see how much you have, how much detailed audiences you have. This one is people who have affinity towards technology and computing. They are interested in artificial intelligence and gatherings in Dubai. Now imagine what kind of audiences you have here. This one, for example, they are from US. Last 15 days, they have shown interest to travel to Dubai. Now imagine there is so much data available here. And one more thing you have to understand here is CPM rates, which means whatever your campaign spends, if you target this audience, you will have an extra $1.5 CPM cost for every 1,000 impressions, which will go to this particular DMP, which is LiveRamp. It's a data provider, third-party data provider. It's not owned. This data is not owned by Google, so they are integrated here. Now you have Google audiences available here as well, which you see in Google Ads. For example, here you have the same ones, the affinity in market, which you have in Google Ads, but third-party is the one I wanted to show you. Now in our case, the only targeting we will be adding here is geography, because let's say this campaign we are targeting to United Arab Emirates. I just chose country here, but you can choose a radius. You can, let's say, 10 kilometers around this pinpoint. You can choose cities, whatever, like the same thing in Google Ads. And then UAE, and we'll be targeting it to certain websites. So we will go here and we'll choose apps and URLs. Now in this case, you can target certain URLs or apps. For example, if I wanted to target, let's say, different apps, I will search for, let's say, candy. You will see, for example, I want to target Lost Temple. So you will see, you will have to search for that app, and you will see some of them might be available, some of them not, but you can choose any app here. I can even choose, let's say, BBC app if they have a particular app. So BBC America, BBC, all of their apps will be listed here, whichever you want to target here, BBC News. And same way you can do with URL. In our case, for example, I want to target Khalij Times. When I say target, that means our ads from this particular line item should appear there, and you will have to search for it. So I'll search for Khalij Times, I'll add it, so this is added. Similarly, I'll add Gulf Business, whatever URLs I want to target, and I'll click on apply. And once you're done with your targeting, in this case we targeted apps and URLs and geography, so then we'll go here. You can add as many targeting as you want. So I can add language again and say only English. So whatever basically your targeting criteria as per the media plan you have. Flight dates use same as the insertion order, or you can choose a custom date within that range, but it has to be within the insertion order range, which I explained before, because in one insertion order you can have one line item for first 2 days, then another line item for another few days. Budget and pacing is already selected at insertion order because we chose insertion order level optimization. So these things you cannot change. If you had selected that I want to change it on line item level, then you will be able to select for each line item separately. But now, because we selected it on insertion order level, all the line items you cannot change it. Frequency cap, again, now here 10 at campaign level, 5 we gave at insertion order level. Now, for example, if I want to have 2 line items within this insertion order, I will say 3 and 3. I'll set it something like that, 1 per week. And then creatives is where you will basically assign creatives. Now I will select creatives. Now what happens in DV360 is you do not add it like Google Ads. You go and you add creatives. There is a creative library you have to add creatives from. For example, I'm in Boop and Advertiser. I'll go to creative. I'll go to creatives. Here I will have to add all my creatives. Upload. You can do bulk upload, whatever type you want. You can do third-party creatives, or you can add from gallery. Basically, in your creative library, add all the creatives, and then you will select which ones you want to use in your creative settings. That's how it works in DV360. You upload creatives to creative library and then choose from your line item. Now, there is one option, one interesting option in DV360 is you can create format gallery. There are a lot of interesting formats. You just have to upload assets. It will create some interesting ones. But one more thing I want you to understand is when it comes to upload, you can upload audio file as well, and you have something called third party. If you want to know more, that's what we have discussed in our detailed course. This is beyond the scope of this video, so I'll just give you an idea. Format gallery, here you will see a lot of formats which you can choose. Swirl, so for example, if you see here on the app, it will appear like this, if you see. So once you're scrolling, it will kind of rotate. It's a very interesting format. It shows you what sizes you can create, and it will show you what all details you need. You have an option actually in DV360 to connect your Google Web Designer as well. The creative people would know it. Your creative team would know it. If you're working for a big company, you will have a creative team. They would basically know it. So I'll click on close, and similarly you have a lot of formats here. For example, this one is native. It looks like a native creative, native video, parallax, swirl, and a lot. So basically that's like the creative library in short. And once I upload it there, I'll be able to assign from the library here. They will all appear here, and I will be able to select which ones should be assigned to this line item. So creatives are basically centralized in DV360. Then we have conversion tracking, which is basically again whatever floodlight events you have created. So basically conversion tracking in DV360 is called floodlights. It's more detailed than the conversion tracking you are used in Meta and Google Ads. There are a lot of things you can add here. It's called floodlight. Now this is also beyond the scope of this particular video, but in the lesson we have shown it in detail. Basically you'll choose the event that, for example, sales, whatever you want to track. And conversion counting, you have an option, count all conversions, only post-click conversions, a percentage of conversions. Attribution model, you have multiple here. For example, primary, floodlight attribution model, whatever you have selected in your floodlight or engaged view. This is also beyond the scope of this video. Disclosures, you have to mention this, that this is not related to any, they are not political ads. Then again, revenue model, you can add a markup here. You can add it because some agencies say, whatever media spend, you have to pay this particular fees, which we discussed, 7%, 8%, whatever. In certain cases, agency have these contracts with clients saying, if it's open auction line item, we will charge you 7% because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. YouTube, 6%. If it's programmatic guaranteed, then we'll charge you 10% or whatever. So you have an option at insertion level order, you add this markup fees, or if you have a contract with your client that for each line item type, we will charge you different, then you set up the same markups here. We already discussed this integration code, and you click on create, and voila, that's it. the line item will be created. So at the moment we have one campaign, we created one insertion order in it, we created one line item in it. Based on the configuration and media plan, you might have to create multiple insertion orders within your campaign, and then you will have to create multiple line items within your campaign. And once you're done with all your campaigns, there is some reporting suite here you can use. There are different kind of reports, instant and offline, cross media reach. This is also beyond the scope of this, but I want to show you this is how you will generate the reports. But one thing I want to show you specifically in DV360 is inventory, which is very important, which is you can create different kind of plans here. Like the structure we discussed, that we'll have one campaign, then we'll have one insertion order for each country, then line item. All of that can be planned here. So you can create a plan, which is also discussed in detail in the course. You can create a plan in advance and take approval from the client, and with one click you can just all of the campaign structure, insertion order structure, line item structure will be created in one click. And then there is one thing I want to show you, which is marketplace, which basically is where you do all the programmatic guaranteed deals and bookings and reservations apart from open auction. So for example, if I'm sitting somewhere in the corner in Dubai and I want to have a campaign guaranteed deal with BBC or New York Post in New York, I can do that. I don't have to walk and have contact there or anything. I can go here and I can see which one I want to buy. For example, let's say I'll click on discovered. Featured shows you the most used one. I can go here. Actually, this tool helps me to understand if I want, let's say I want to do connected TV or desktop inventory. I want to buy desktop inventory. I want to buy display. I want to target certain gender. I want to target certain countries. And then I want to target certain categories of websites. I will select whatever and it will give me what are the best options and websites available for this targeting here, right? Or I can directly go, let's say, for example, I already know I want to run a campaign on BBC. I'll search for it here, bbc.com. I can click on it. It'll give me all the details that what kind of impressions do they have daily, what user geo, where do they get the traffic from, what is their desktop traffic, how much traffic do they get on their app, what formats, and all that, a bit about them, and see basically all of these. Like, okay, Google audiences, what is the match rate? So for example, all the people who go to bbc.com, 98% of them are interested in news and politics. So it gives you an idea about this publisher in detail, who they have on their website, and a lot more details which we have explained in the course. But if you want to run a proposal with them, you want to run a guarantee deal with them, all you have to do is request proposal, say what your RFP name, who should be CC'd. Then you have to basically tell them how much inventory, what is the budget, start and end dates, what kind of inventory you want to buy, what kind of audiences you want to buy. It will be automatically sent to them and they will come back to you. This is the price. If you accept it in the marketplace, it will all be done here within my inventory. They will come back to you, and you can do it with multiple publishers and then merge them all in one campaign. How? In the line item settings, there was one setting called packages and deals. Once they send you back the proposal, in here, it will appear here. Then you will have to either accept, or you can click on negotiate or reduce the price, whatever. And finally, when you accept, it will be part when you're in the line item settings targeting, in the packages and deals, it will appear there. You select it there. That's it. That's a programmatic guaranteed campaign. And that's like the overview of DV360. I hope you like it, and thank you so much, and I will see you in the next one.